All right. Yatine, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, Jonathan, how you doing?
Good, good. Glad to have you on the show. I know we've emailed back and forth a little, so glad we could set this up.
Yeah. And I think the first time I spoke to you was at Camex in 2025.
That's right,
Uh,
Orlando.
you had a fairly brief chat, but it's really good to get to talk to you.
Yeah, you came up. We were doing interviews, and you came up, and I think Yannick introduced us, didn't he?
Yeah, we had someone who introduced us. So
Yeah,
yeah, it's quite good
and you
to.
had that little gimbal. I jumped on Amazon after that because I was like, that is the coolest thing. Because
Yeah,
you were walking around and you had this little handheld
camera.
gimbal
Mm.
recorder and yeah, camera, and it's a DJI. Is it a DJI or is it Rode? I can't remember.
It is a DJI, and that was one of the interesting things of how I got started on this. I
Yeah.
was literally just going around with a camera and whatever's the latest tech that made things easy, I would
Mhm.
just go and grab it and like whatever
Yeah.
facilitates life.
Yeah.
That was the starting point. Yeah.
That's amazing. If you would share a little bit about your background and your story and kind of what led you to start Thermoforge, because this is a really cool platform. I've followed your stuff on LinkedIn and across other platforms as well, and you're doing some really cool stuff out there.
Well, yeah. Thank you. Really appreciate. I mean, I moved to Britain something along the lines of 18 years ago
Mhm.
to do my studies. So 4 years of manufacturing engineering. And coming out of it was super clear to me that I will be one of these engineers who makes things, makes physical things.
Yeah.
And so I became a manufacturing engineer, worked for Rolls-Royce for something like 6 years in composites. And
Nice.
that was my starting point. So I became an expert in the field of fiber placement, so particularly AFP. So if you look at the front of an aircraft engine, you
Yeah.
will see the fan blades. And my job was pretty much automating the layup of this. It was incredible, great
Yeah.
experience. So I did about 6 years of that. I got really into the world of composites. Went to Dyson for about 3 years. Did some thermoplastics. Ooh, thermoplastics, interesting.
Mhm.
That's why a lot of the channel is.
Yeah.
And then moved to the National Composite Centres, where I'm at the moment employed and doing various different things. But the uh, thermoplastic is one of them,
Yeah.
and that's where the idea of Thermoforge pretty much came up.
Yeah.
So one of my frustrations, that started about 2 years ago, was so I'm an engineer and I'm a non-native English speaker, but one of the big things that I really wanted to do was to improve my communication abilities and all of that. And thermoplastic, as an example, is such interesting and amazing technology, but the traction behind it was not as much as I wanted to see.
Mhm.
And especially when I was looking around me, the information available, some of it was good, some of it was a bit on the weaker end. So rather than just complain, I was just thinking to myself, how do we convey to people out there about all the upcoming tech that is coming in?
Yeah.
And Thermoforge was not created out of love. It was created more out of frustration.
Yeah.
It was the frustration of you watch a corporate video and it's always the same thing. You see the logo, it is very slow paced. The music is from 20 years ago. It was
Right.
frustrating. I was really frustrated by what I was watching. So, what can we do using the learning of the different tech? Social media has been out there 20 years ago. We knew how to make good videos on social media, but all
Yeah.
that learning is not really coming into our field in terms of like, how do we convey information? This is where Thermoforce started.
Yeah.
So how do I take these learnings? I'm not a media person. I'm not a video person. So how do I do this? How do I grab a camera? I know nothing about these. And I'm just going to learn everything on the fly. I will learn how to communicate in front of a camera. And it's quite hard to do, right? And I mean, you
Sure.
might do some of that yourself, but looking at a dead camera, it's like, hey, what's up? Today we're going to talk about blah, blah, blah. It feels really weird to look at a camera and you don't get any feedback because the camera is not a human.
That's
So
right.
that is a skill set on its own in terms of how do you
Yeah.
communicate and how do you not get the judgment in your mind, like, am I looking silly? Did I mispronounce this? Da, da, da. So that is a skill set that I developed over time.
Yeah.
So if you go on my YouTube channel, the first videos that I did, the idea was to do something which was more evergreen. So my first videos are just fundamentals. What are
Mhm.
thermoplastics? What are the
Yeah.
types of thermoplastics? How do you mix it with what kind of fibers, properties, blah, blah, blah. Very fundamental stuff.
Sure.
And that very niche audience. This is not, composites is niche, but thermoplastic composites is in
Is
itself quite
even
niche.
more. Yeah.
Absolutely. So it was getting that content out there. And something along the lines of 18 months ago, I just decided I'm just going to go to Jack. I'm going to grab a cameraman.
Mhm.
And that person, the day before, I went around and just say, hi, I just launched a YouTube channel. I know you don't know me. I would love to talk to you on camera. And I
Yeah.
did that to everyone who would be listening to me. And
Sure.
I swear I'm not crazy.
Yeah.
And the people who said yes, that was actually quite incredible because the next day, I've got a camera person coming in. I'm holding
Yeah.
a little gimbal camera on my hand.
Yeah.
There's microphones. And it was funny watching that. A few of these engineers who were very excited to talk to me when the camera was there, they were kind of like, honestly, I don't think I can do this.
Mhm.
Um, so that kind of like sparked into my mind in terms of like, how do we train engineers in terms of being better at communicating and that kind of stuff,
Communicators. Yeah.
especially the technical ones. You can get a business development person who's very good at communicating, but being a good communicator is technical.
Yes.
I'm very technical. That's
Right.
quite hard.
Yeah.
It's a skill. Anyone can
Yeah.
learn this.
Absolutely.
And the format, and for the people who are maybe listening, the format is very much, I will be talking to someone and that engineer will not have to talk to the camera. You won't have to do this weird thing looking at the lens, which is a response to you.
Mhm.
And if I do my job well, I will start pulling out of that person the excitement that exists off camera, where they get very excited and the camera is here and they stiffen up and they're quite
Yeah.
mechanical.
Yeah.
So doing this well is trying to get that excitement out and we forget about the cameras. And then you see the engineer, the eyes light up. That's great content.
Yeah.
That's how you make good content, which is
Yeah.
getting it out of people. And that's pretty much one of the main formats that I've been working on lately, which is very much, talking to different people, doing things that I find interesting and exciting. And I'll
Yeah.
share it to everyone.
Yeah, I love that, and I agree with you, like, engineers, like, because we used to do, post, like, live interviews, like, we would make
Mm,
these live streaming, and I stopped doing that just because, there was an element to that where people, if they felt like they were live, they freeze up. So, we just I started just making these recordings. I'm like, "Hey, this
mhm.
is all pre-recorded. If something goes wrong, if, um" you say something that maybe you shouldn't, or it's like a proprietary or something like that, we'll clip that out. But don't worry,
Exactly.
this is all pre-recorded, so we'll make it look really good on the back end. But I
And, and,
agree
and
with you
that's
that
something,
that
that's something.
communication.
Mhm.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to add on to what I just said right now. Giving someone a way out is actually
Yes,
really important because
yes,
obviously these engineers in their excitement might share information that maybe they shouldn't have.
right,
I might be guilty of it sometimes myself. I'm like, maybe these temperatures are,
yeah,
IP. So not doing it live and talking to them and most people, hey, if you made a mistake, you can just repeat yourself. We can fix it
yeah,
on the back end. And that's kind of like to people listening. I
right,
think that's something you have to tell people so that there's a way out. And then the final product gets,
yeah,
you get a say in it in terms of like, by the way, this is, and then suddenly you see these people relax. The engineers can relax and then we can communicate in a
oh
way which
yeah.
is compelling.
Yeah, I can't tell you the number of times, like, I've had, like, the communication people within the company will call me up after or email me after and say, "Hey, can we clip this out?" It was he he shouldn't have said that.
Mm.
So that makes it, like you said, that makes it a little that's an easy out for people. "Hey, if you say something, then we'll clip it or not share it." So, what led you in specifically into, your interest in thermoplastic composites specifically?
So what I've been working on, especially in aerospace, has
Mhm.
been so it's fiber placement. So you're putting layers upon layers in
Yeah.
this machine, and the deposition rate on it um, is fast, but it's not as fast as you might want it if. So if you look at the output requirement for, I don't know, the middle aisle, I think an A320, they're making 2 a day. So these volumes are just so outrageous when you're making 2 a day. So that's 4 engines, that's, let's say, if a fan blade, the numbers are ridiculous.
Mhm.
You're looking at hundreds of fan blades a day. So how do you deposit that amount of material, or how do you make that amount of aircraft in such short amount of time?
Mhm.
So it was quite clear to me that it is going to be inevitable that many applications will have, not out of choice, but out of necessity, will have to take thermoplastics. And because I've been looking at thermoplastics, in this case, consumer goods, it, it was quite clear that this would, not for everything, but it's got its applications, which are very valid.
Sure.
So just dove into thermoplastic, and in my current role at the NCC, I do some thermoplastic too. So
Mhm.
it was quite clear that the barrier to entry, a lot of this is information based. People just don't know about it,
Sure.
don't know about what qualified material you have out there, and then there's the uncertainty around maturity. So the
Yeah.
faster we can get information out there, the faster we can get the design engineers from the whole value stream, people to understand the opportunities, the faster we get these technologies out into flying aircraft, cars, and so on.
Yeah. I was thinking about what you said about, storytelling, which is, I think that, as you mentioned, engineers, they like to hone in on the technical, um, the technical. So a lot of times, and you've seen this, I'm sure, where a lot of companies, whether it's startups or companies that are launching new applications, a lot of times it's not a failure of the product itself, but it's a failure of really communicating, the long benefits instead of getting in. It's so easy to get stuck in the weeds of all of the details. So I know that, I'm sure that you find that pretty much true of most engineers, like you said earlier, is that they like to hone in on all of these little details without really laying out the big picture.
I would say Americans are a lot better at this than
Yeah.
European by margins. Americans
Why
have got
so? I'm curious. Why do you think that?
so culturally, the United States is a culture that rewards winning,
Yeah.
right? And you can see that in terms of winner takes all. It's
Mhm.
part of the culture. You have to win. Whereas European culture is more kind of like distributed in terms of like, oh, let's share our winnings and all of
Sure.
that. And in Britain, we see a lot of the tall. The expression is kind of like the tall poppy gets cut. So if you stand out too much, that might be an issue. So Americans have comfort in the individualistic approach of like, I will
Mhm.
stand out and I will be unique in me, whereas standing out is not necessarily perceived as a very good thing in Europe. So culturally, that's kind of like one of the big differences.
Right.
Now, if you zoom in even further into these two different cultures, um, then you have obviously the technical and non-technical. So technical people just naturally don't tend, they are very excited by the numbers and that kind of things, but the numbers don't necessarily tell a story. I mean, humans are, I don't know, 500,000 years of evolution means that
Yeah.
we pass information through storytelling. It's always been the case.
Sure.
If you tell a story, so rather than, so this material is going to expand and apply 4.5, blah, 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 blah. No, no. This material solves your problem in this particular way, right?
Mhm.
You can now make 5 times more using the same machine that you have, is a very compelling story to tell that you can 5x your output rather than the pressure, the bars, and that kind of stuff. And it's almost trying to get that information, trying to pull that information out of engineers. You're not selling chemistry here, you're selling a solution.
Right.
So
People wanna it's the old adage, people, they're not buying the drill, they're buying what the drill does. They're buying a hole.
that,
If
that,
you wanna go to a hardware store and, you're looking to drill a hole,
yeah,
you don't care as long as the drill is getting, so what you're paying for is the end result. And I think
absolutely.
that's where a lot of, I think that I don't think I think I love, engineers are good at what they do. and you don't want them to become marketers by any means, but it's good to have them understand what, especially in this day and age, it seems like, attention spans, we're in the age of social media and we're in the age of, everything's online, digital, people's attention span, even I'm sure that you can attest to this, even videos, you have to tell it, you have to make them shorter and shorter. And, now we're seeing reels and everything. Everything's like really fast. And so
Jonathan, I have a rough time on this subject, which is this is hard. This is really hard.
it
So
is.
you're talking to someone who will read a big book or listen to a long form
Yeah,
podcast, and then
of course.
um, you, I experiment with the content, and
Hmm.
we see kind of like what works. And so, w- big frustration piece is people will be listening, willing to listen maybe to Joe Rogan talking about an alien for 3 hours. Why do people
Yeah.
listen to this? That's a really good
Yeah.
question, right?
Yeah. Right.
Because you might make a case that someone will watch a Christopher Nolan movie for 2 hours, but it's visually very engaging.
Hmm.
But conversations, people are listening to conversations for 3 hours, but they are listening to infotainment, is what it is. Just kind of like
Absolutely.
there's information there, but it's mostly entertainment. So they will watch comedians and things like that, things which give them positive emotions. That's what people are going after. Now, when you have content from someone who's spent, say, 40 years in thermoplastic and they're giving you nuggets of gold, incredible stuff. It's quite actually it's very difficult to get people to listen to that because maybe that information is a bit more drier, it's more corporate information. So the way you entice people to listen to something which is even just if it is 20 minutes is having to pull out short content. I don't
Yeah.
enjoy it,
Yeah.
but it is what people respond to. So you pull out the best bits from short content, put it, people watch you, "Ooh, that's interesting," and maybe you entice people to go watch the whole thing.
Hmm.
Um, the I can tell you the difference between social media and why in my opinion, every single marketing company that I've been seeing so far have got this wrong, which
Yeah.
is company X offers a certain product, and how does their corporate video look like, or I don't know, some product looks like. It starts with the logo, and then it's going to be a person talking to the camera,
Yeah.
and then it's going to be visually engaging a bit later. What
Hmm.
we don't realize is in a very fast-paced environment, from the logo, people are scrolled. You lost them. From the person talking, more people have scrolled through. And where the bits where you have, say, the visually engaging bits, people are not watching anymore. So
Yeah.
you've lost people and you spent $15,000 on making this video that no one is watching.
Yeah.
The reason why this doesn't work is it's dissimilar to what you do in cinema. When you go to a cinema, you sit down and then you're committed, and then the story starts, and then this is how it is, the context, da, 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 and then it builds up all the way to the finale. And corporate videos, especially in social media, are being even saying, no, it should be the opposite way around.
Yeah.
We have flipped the script when it comes to social media. Social media, you have to start on an absolute strong. So that's why you start with a trailer.
Yeah.
That trailer prevents people from, in a cinema, you can't just scroll, oh, I'm going to watch the next movie. I'm bored by this movie. You're
Hmm.
committed. In social media, you're just scrolling. LinkedIn, you just scroll
Right.
through. So the most compelling stuff, visual compelling, and the stuff that is being said has to happen at the beginning. And then the person can explain features and benefits. None of this is the story of a company. No. Features and benefits. This is how we're
Yeah.
solving big problems. And then you can start introducing and you can start humanizing the people that you have. But
Yeah.
from the beginning, you need to be hitting really hard features and benefits and all of this.
Yeah.
And companies don't like doing this. And I get it because I don't like doing it, but
Hmm.
it doesn't work.
Right.
What works is obviously what I'm saying right now. You just need to be hitting really hard, get to people investments, and maybe 3 minutes in and 4 minutes in, be engaged enough to watch the deep,
Yeah.
interesting stuff.
Yeah. I had years ago, I knew a copywriter, and this is a copywriter that I kind of learned from because I've been in this industry for over 20 years, and I've been in sales and marketing roles. And one of the copywriters that I followed many years ago, he was actually a chemical engineer turned copywriter. So he actually came from a really technical background and went into copywriting
Mhm.
for many of the reasons that you've laid out. Is that he saw that engineers, some of the ads that they would put out when he was working in the industrial sectors, that they were horrible, and so he decided to go into copywriting because he understood everything from a technical standpoint, but he believed that it was poorly conveyed. And
Mhm.
so one of the questions people would always ask him was, should it be long copy or short copy? And he said, it really doesn't matter. He said, if you can do long copy and you can still get away with it, even if attention spans are shortening, but you have to be interesting. Yeah, that's the key. Interest
Absolutely.
is the capital. And if you don't hook people and get them to continue reading, in your case, continue watching, then really it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how short or how long. It matters if they're interested in what you have to say. So
So copy is it's an interesting world, but we've seen some changes happening
yeah.
in that world. And I'm going to make a parallel to the engineering world in a second with this. So copy back in the days, one of the big names was, for example, Dan Kennedy. There's
Yeah.
some really big names here, right?
Yep.
People watch Dan Kennedy and he was selling CDs, books, and all different products. And then you go to his conferences, and that's the high ticket
Mhm.
items.
Yep.
Um, Most people of my age group have never heard of Dan Kennedy, but the
Mhm.
person we have heard of would be Alex Hormozy. Alex
Yeah.
Hormozy is American guy who
Yeah.
his mentor was Dan Kennedy, but what he's doing was he's just taking the same content and making it compelling to a younger
Yes.
generation. And
Right.
he's trying many different things. This is not dissimilar to what I'm doing here. I am not reinventing the wheel. These are the things that work, but from my frustration point of view, no one is doing it. And I'm saying it because I want to see more people do them.
Absolutely. No,
The
you're
industry is big enough,
mhm.
for more than plenty of people.
Yeah.
So we can all collaborate, and you can have a specialist in ceramics and all of that. But I just want to see more of it.
Oh, you're preaching to the choir, man. You know this more than anybody. I mean, you walk trade shows and you see all the technical literature laid out, all the investment. We've had people on our show basically that their focus is on helping companies at trade shows improve their ROI. And he said it's amazing how much is invested in trade shows. I mean, your average trade show booth,
Mm,
say for instance, is $15,000 to $20,000 for a really a nice booth at a trade show, and you're putting that money in, and you're paying for all of your people to go, right,
mm,
to be there for 3 or 4 days, and you're putting all this money into the literature, materials, all of the money that is invested, and the marketing on the back end is always just, what are you doing to create leads?
absolutely. Yeah.
Obviously, how are you qualifying or quantifying your ROI from that trade show? And it's usually they're not, right? I mean, this from a marketing standpoint, it's rarely done. So
But that's a video I've been thinking about doing for a while, which is
you should.
how do you prepare for a trade show?
Yeah.
I didn't get to do it this year at Jack,
Yeah.
but how do you prepare for trade show?
Yep.
And how do you build funnels? Like very simple stuff, basic
Mhm.
stuff. Because most people, they have these conversations and they feel positive emotions. They
Yep.
go away, life hits them,
Yeah.
and these conversations go nowhere. And uh, if it is your own business, you'd be quite aggressive at going after. By the way, like, are you keen on doing this?
Right.
But if you're busy in your day job and all of that, life happens to you, and then
Yep.
all these leads, it's all gone, right?
Yeah.
So I think this is exactly the kind of example that I'm quite keen on doing.
Mhm.
That kind of video actually is not specific to composites, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
But if people are not doing the basics, the the companies and the industry itself is suffering. So there's a lot of fundamental stuff which are missing right now, and I've been working quite a bit with Yannick Villemin. So I think for
Yeah.
the listeners who might not know who Yannick is a Swiss entrepreneur, and he's been
Mhm.
making great content lately. Jonathan, you have spoken to him,
Yes.
and
Yeah, he's a great guy. Yeah,
absolutely,
his interviews are great too. I've been following both of you guys lately.
definitely. So I've been kind of like trying to engage with various different people, and Yannick can see the value there, which is his business will grow, and then it can be a bit harder sometimes to quantify the KPI from people seeing you enough on screen. And when they're seeing you in real life, they're like,
Mm,
oh, is that person? Um, there is a halo effect, which almost happens when you have video, because these people are, the conversations that I have with a lot of people is they are assuming familiarity, and these are people I've never met in my life. They
right.
just assume familiarity. Is like, oh yeah, X, Y, Z, and I'm like, I don't know who you are. So, what's your name again? So,
Who are
so
you?
exactly. The power of using some of these media items, such as video and all of that,
Yeah.
is it gets your foot in the door straight away if done correctly.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. The trade show, that episode, because most of our focus is on other companies and the technology within, the world of composites, but every now and then we'll do a marketing segment. And that
Mhm.
episode that we did on trade show ROI and trade show marketing was probably one of our most replayed episodes. Uh, so I think it just goes to show, to your point, I think a lot of companies are interested in learning how they can improve the ROI when they go to these events.
The also my reading on why your trade show conversation did so well is a lot of people tend to have conversations about this is a product that I made and we add value to our customer, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But actually, what people want to hear is uh, how can I solve my problems, and what are existing products that are out there. And by the way, my product solves that problem. The
Mhm.
people tend to be quite invested about my product, my product, my product.
Yeah.
Actually, if you just provide the value, the people tend to go after the person who provided that value. It doesn't mean, so let's say you make a very specific type of adhesive. It doesn't mean that they'll go just with you if there's competing product out there. They'll be more likely will be going with you.
Mhm.
So as an example, my conversation with you today is I'm just going to tell you everything that I learned because there's nothing which is being hidden.
Right.
And this way, the people who will be getting it, they'll be going and trying things, and some of them will get great success, and
Yeah.
others will be like, oh, maybe I'm struggling on X, Y, Z. And there's plenty. Well, there's some people out there who can help you, and the industry is so big that there's no need to be quite, the kind of hiding of information of, oh, I found this the hard way, therefore no one should know about it unless
Sure.
they pay me big money, which doesn't go very far.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Um, let's get back into talking composites, thermoplastic composites. What excites you most? I mean, you spend a lot of your time in advanced composite technologies. You've had experience in AFP. What is some technology that you've seen lately that really excites you and really sparks your interest?
Um, the big things that we've have been doing for a while and we know how to do them. So one example of them is thermoforming over molding, right?
Mhm.
We know how to do these, but the barrier to entry is actually quite high. So let's say someone comes to me and say, hey, we'd like you to overmold and injection mold something. The barrier to entry is easily, the tool is going to be 500,000, but the project around it for the design of the tool and the manufacturing, 1.5 million. For
Yeah.
one project, 1.5 million to make a prototype. So the technologies exist. Companies like Engel and Cosmify, they have been making these machines out there. We know they work.
Mhm.
But if you're a company that wants to make a prototype, do you have 1.5 million to pay into a project?
Yeah.
Suddenly, you see why it's only some certain German OEMs who will have it. So Mercedes Benz and all of that, a couple of them have it, but it's not mainstream. So what excites me is to be able to get people an understanding of the level of maturity of these existing technology. We were doing these 10, 15 years ago, but understanding of the maturity that if I put, say, 2 million euros in tooling and equipment, usually more than that, I actually will have a mature system that will be working. So I'm not really going up. There's a lot of startups who are doing good and exciting things, but it's the fundamentals that we're not even seeing that much of right now, which
Yeah.
is, say, yeah, the basics, thermoforming, overmolding, that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
that's the bread and butter for people to understand it. Now, if you go past that, there's a lot of startups who are doing amazing things. Fibionic is an example. I spoke with them and I thought, wow, this is truly amazing. There's a lot of stuff happening right now, but we do need to be getting the fundamentals entered in, and the barrier to entry is
Sure.
high. I understand why, but
Mm.
people need to be comfortable with these and understand the maturity of a lot of this tech.
Yeah. Do you get to interview a lot of startup companies and talk to them specifically?
So I tend to talk to startup companies at, say, trade shows, and
Yeah.
then there's a lot of conversations that happens. One of my bottlenecks on my side is I can set up multiple camera or have a camera person running
Yeah.
things, and we can have a conversation for, say, 30 minutes, 40 minutes.
Mhm.
For me to edit a video is about 20 to 40 hours of work that goes into it, right, from start to
Oof.
finish. And the reason why it's so much work is um, I tend to really produce my videos in terms of explaining the technology. This is what this term means and all of that. So the video will be packed info, and that's the only way you can make it
Yeah.
valuable on, say,
And it's
YouTube.
hard to hire that out because it's hard to explain somebody from your
I
perspective.
tried.
Yeah.
I tried. Yeah, getting a non-engineer to be explaining why AFB and at what point does the temperature bubble.
Right.
It's quite hard to do. It's quite hard to automate. What you can
Yeah.
automate is making maybe a trailer and that kind of stuff, but it is hard to do. It's definitely hard to do.
Yeah.
So my conversations that I have, it's the turning what someone perceives as a 30-minute conversation, turning it into a finished product with the correct title and the correct thumbnail. Like thumbnail, incredible. I don't like that it's a thing, but the
Yeah.
amount of effort that has to go into getting your foot in the door is just the
Mhm.
reality of how these things work. So a lot of effort goes into making these. Um, Going on to your question of exactly the startups I'm talking to, I will be thinking about different formats in the future, how to make content which is compelling,
Mhm.
because people need things which are visually compelling, but minimizing the amount of effort. And maybe it doesn't look like a 12, 18-minute video. Maybe it is a 3, 4 minute video, punchy, 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 get your
Mhm.
foot in the door.
Yeah.
And then if you can engage people enough, then maybe they can watch 10, 15-minute, I don't know if it's presentation, but something a bit more technical, a bit more deep.
Right.
So looking at the marketing funnel, it's almost like most people will be clicking on your thumbnail, which is engaging. Down the funnel,
Yeah.
they're looking at your trailer, first 30 seconds. Down the funnel, they watch a whole 3-minute video. Down the funnel, they watch
Yeah.
maybe a 15-minute. But all the way down the funnel, the person who has invested, say, in 15 minutes to watch about how, say, your overmolding equipment works, these are the people who will be likely maybe purchasing or buying the technology,
Yeah.
right? So really what you're doing is you're just designing a system to get people invested, time investment, and then all the way to should we be talking to these people and these companies to make products? If that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Do you work with startups and helping them, like, improve their storytelling? And
So I've worked with a couple of different startups,
yeah.
but really at the moment, the people I've been engaging the most with has been, so I mentioned a bit Yannick earlier.
Yeah.
I'm also working with Composites World. So Composite
Oh, yeah.
World,
Yeah.
have been they've been very helpful. I'll
Mhm.
tell you a tidbit story actually.
Yeah.
I was at Camex going
Mhm.
around, actually the same Camex I saw you with
Yeah.
my tripod and camera. And I saw Ginger from Composite World. I think that's Ginger. So I just went to her and
Yeah.
say hi. I just thanked her for thank you very much for the content that you put. I really like
Right.
it.
Right.
And she literally just grabbed my hand and they're like, come with me. And she pulled me towards it was LNL product had their TP Link product that. So she just dragged me like talk to these guys. And she made warm introductions,
That's
which
great.
really mattered when you're talking to bigger
Oh,
companies
sure. Yeah.
to
Yeah.
be able to get the engagement and so on. So that's another example of the likes of Composite Worlds where they would be making great introductions and I've been making shorts for them, which goes
Mhm.
on their channel. And then they're getting engagement on these too.
That's great. It's awesome. How are you using I'm sure you're using AI. So how are you first of all, how are you using AI in your own marketing and, doing a lot of this, maybe taking the load off of some of your work? And then how are you Well, maybe I should ask what platforms are you using and just how you're using it at first?
Yeah. So at the moment, the content pretty much the workflow is this. So video gets created. The full long form video will go on YouTube because YouTube is
Yeah.
friendlier to long form videos. And the
Mhm.
short form video trailer will go on LinkedIn, and 2 shorts, 3 shorts goes on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn drives traffic to YouTube. In the future, I will experiment. Can I do full long form on LinkedIn? But I don't think it's the right platform for that. So,
Mhm.
so, so these are the two big platforms that are happening. And having the type of conversations I'm having with you right now, how do I have a full long form conversation and then make it compelling so that it doesn't destroy? Because YouTube is very picky about
Sure.
corporate content.
Yeah.
How to use that correctly. So that's something I'm still dialing in right now with Yannick, because Yannick is getting very good viewership. Like
Yeah.
the people who are watching the video is very good, but
Mhm.
they are not big view counts. So that's
Mhm.
an important item, which is the people who are watching it, loving it, but YouTube is not distributing it to a lot of people to go
Right.
down the funnel all the way to watching it.
Sure.
So, so these are the different type of places that we're putting content. Yeah, and
Yeah.
we'll go into audio. Um, and what's the second bit of that video? What's the second bit of that question you asked?
Well, like, are there any
AI.
AI tools that you're incorporating into this to make it easier and make it more streamlined,
So,
for
so AI is good in terms of it's like talking to a very intelligent friend
yeah.
and having a conversation back and forth.
Mhm.
So someone is making a very difficult technical content to be able to tell a story. So I mentioned earlier LNL product, they make CNN
Yeah.
adhesive. So how do you tell that story in a way which is compelling? So that's a really good place to start to have a conversation with AI back and forth. How do you format it
Mm.
and structure it?
Yeah.
Right. So that's the first bit, which is you have your video captured, but how do you tell it? How do you tell that story consistently? So that's number one. Now, AI is incredible. So my videos, they get
Yep.
plugged
Yep.
into AI. It will cut it, kind of like put it back together. It's not perfect, but it's pretty good. So
Yeah.
AI will allow me to rearrange sometimes some of his videos. Sometimes I would not agree. I would go my own way, but it's very useful for that. At the end of the day, most people don't want to be listening to a 45-minute conversation. How do you compress 45 minutes into 8 minutes of nuggets?
Yeah.
AI will help you do that. So
Yep.
that's where the power is. And then going after that, how do you get titles which are SEO optimized? So that you can cross pollinate with other industries. So let's say I'm talking to Victrex and they are working with Peak. Peak is also a material that is used a lot in 3D printing industry.
Yeah.
So how do you go after different parts of the audience if you want to build these audiences in, right? So how
Right.
do you SEO optimize? And finally, yeah, the thumbnail. Thumbnail is a big deal. A lot of effort goes into that, but a lot of the AI tools will go into helping you putting the correct caption in it and then the correct guidance in terms of what makes visually compelling thumbnails.
That I've started using an AI tool called, I don't know if you've heard of it, called Opus Clip, and I'm sure there's other versions of this, but it'll take any of your videos, like what we're doing now, and it'll turn them
Mhm.
into, like reels, like, and it'll go through each video and just identify, like, and it's actually really good. I'm somewhat impressed with how it's able to really pinpoint some of the most important parts of the conversation that you're having and say, here's 1 minute because it needs, if it's a reel, it's gotta be under a minute. So
Yeah.
it will segment, like, the most important component of that conversation into 1 minute and then create a clip off of that that you can, send to, LinkedIn or YouTube or whatever platform you want. It's really
So
cool.
if you're having conversations, Opus Clip is a very good tool, right? Opus
Yeah.
Clip will pull out the best content that I
Mhm.
think is really good. Will give you a virality kind of like metric to it, give you a
Yeah.
title, give everything. So it's a turnkey solution. You can get stuff out, which is really good.
Mhm.
Um, but the other thing is you can also, the way it works is it's pulling the transcript out and then
Yes. Yeah.
telling you what the best bit is. You
Yep.
can actually plug that exact transcript into various models. Claude, ChatGPT is very good. Gemini, not so good yet. So plugging it into these models will give you different angles that then manually you'll have to then pull these shorts out, But
Right.
that's another way of using these tools to get interesting content out.
That's a great idea.
Mm.
Wow. Yeah, Teen, it's been great having you on. Last question. If you had, so let's say if you had 50 million to invest, what's one technology that you would be looking at today?
Mm. So, and the place where you're coming from
Yeah.
is this is a manufacturing company.
Yes.
Okay, understood. Uh, yeah, if there was 50 million to invest, and I'm imagining in this case scenario, this is Lockheed Martin, and we've got a fund of
There you go.
50 million.
Yeah.
They want to invest, right?
Yeah.
So there'll be some varied investment in there, which is yes, some of our investment will be going into more mature technology just to get output. So what are the companies out there who will be, say, supporting a given example? The US industry has a big gap, which is you don't have a single large thermoforming machine in the whole country.
Yeah.
There isn't one right now. The US Air Force has noticed it, right? So if I was to be investing in it, I will be looking at who out there has the ability of getting us a 4 meter by 4 meter, is that 12 feet by 12 feet? A
Mhm.
large press that can
Yep.
thermoform large
Yep.
geometries. So that's the first thing. Right now, no one in the US can do it, right? So
Wow.
that's a big gap, and it's been identified. And so that's a good place to go in. Large structure investment for large firm forming rather than
Yeah.
small firm. Next one to go into will be what are the smaller so drones, especially in the world of where defense is becoming more and more. There's
Yeah.
a lot of demand there. What are the companies out there who have the ability of really fast turnaround manufacturing of drones? And so I mentioned Fibionic as an example. They have the ability of preforming things really fast. So who are the people that can make fast preforms?
Mhm.
Because the West cannot compete with, say, Asian manufacturing, the whole manufacturing machine from Asia.
Right.
We cannot compete with that. We have the production system, we have the manufacturing system, which is quite significant. So the way we compete is to have smart technologies and that kind of stuff. So who are the people out there who have the ability of manufacturing really fast into, say, the drone industry, because these are single-use technology?
Yeah.
I think these are the two really big growth. The drone one is getting investment right now, but the large firm performing a bit trickier. I think these are the two really big ones from what I've been seeing and the conversations I've been having specifically in thermoplastics.
Yeah. I think you're right about the drone sector. It's just blowing up right now. No pun
It,
intended, right? I mean,
it's a tricky one because 4 years ago, let's say you and I were walking at Czech, you'll be
mhm.
seeing hydrogen tanks everywhere.
Yep.
Today, you won't be seeing as many hydrogen tanks. So 4 years ago, 3 years ago, hydrogen tanks, there was a theme. That was something that was quite in vogue, and every investor had like a hydrogen investment, so that did quite well. There's a lot of drones right now already on the market, right? So is it here to stay or is it here to go? Evidence compared to hydrogen, the evidence of the recent conflicts that we have seen has been that I think drones are here to stay, and drones are very competitive compared to a $1 million anti-missile system. They're just very
Sure.
cheap systems. Drones are here to stay, and the questions are who are the people who will be making them at volumes, who are
Right.
going to be the winner? Time will tell.
And the barrier of entry is much lower with that technology than
Absolutely. Yeah.
traditional aerospace. So,
Once you have a design, really it's about just how do you
yeah.
scale up production and you
Right.
get an incredible amount of volume out. I
Yeah.
think there's a lot of potential there.
Yeah. Yeah, Teen, it's been a pleasure. Really enjoyed the conversation. Will you be at CAMEX in September?
TBC on Camex. Yeah, TBC possibly at Camex, but next year definitely I'll be at Jack. I will be also a
Okay.
bit at ITEC in Germany. So ITEC is a kind of it's a conference which is specialized in thermoplastics. So these are my people.
Yeah.
So I will be there too.
Okay. Well, since you said so CAMEX is a no-go this year?
Maybe TBC
Yeah.
if I can yeah extract value out of it.
Well, hopefully, if not in Atlanta, I will see you in Paris. in March. Hopefully, we'll have a chance to talk again before then. Anyway, so
Yeah.
yeah, we need to. I need to have both you and Yannick over. Would have a great conversation. You know.
Yeah, definitely. We'll film a bit of lifestyle content of you guys walking,
Yeah,
looking slow motion, looking really cool. It will
absolutely.
feel weird while I'm filming you while you're walking in a
There you go.
cinematic way, but the output, the end product will look good.
Yeah. I don't know if I can compete. He looks sharp on his, he's
Good.
always got the three-piece going, on his interviews, looking sharp and dapper, so,
So
uh,
that's also another good thing for a lot of people to take away, which is what makes you very recognizable.
absolutely.
Yannick is very recognizable because he always wear a three piece,
The
even if it is
gray
for days.
three-piece, yeah, it's his brand.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah,
like that.
that's his brand. So very recognizable.
Atine, thanks again. Look forward to, getting this out and, staying in touch with you as well. Best of success, and, we hope to talk to you again soon.
Ciao, Jonathan. Speak soon.
Alright.